If you're watching this video, you guys are probably new or returning players that aren't really sure how to get into bossing and how to master any boss in MapleStory. Well, this video, I'm gonna go over 5 steps to master any boss in MapleStory. So let's get started. Step number 1, you want to watch guides or read guides, but personally, I prefer watching instead of reading because reading is just too much work. So you want to watch guides and make sure you know what the boss does. And it's a lot easier to explain things and understand things through pictures, in this case motion pictures versus a text formatted guide. So I would recommend that you watch guides on whatever particular boss that you're trying to do. I've made a good amount of bossing guides in my YouTube channel, so feel free to check those out. I also know there are a few YouTubers like lucid that makes boss pattern guides that show you what each of the boss do. Now keep in mind that some of these guides may not be super up to date because Maple is always changing and it's impossible for YouTubers to keep updating the guides every time Maple makes a tiny bit of change. Step number 2 is you want to watch others of your same class solo the boss, or if there is no solo video available, you want to try to look at party settings. So the reasoning behind this is you want to see what others do in a certain boss. So each class has its own special playstyle and no class plays exactly the same. So for example, Kaisers, we do not have very much upward mobility if there is no platform for us to grab onto or jump onto or teleport onto. But for other classes like Hayato or Zero, they have unlimited upward mobility even if there is no platform, so their survivability is different in bosses such as Darknell, Gloom, and whatever else. So you want to make sure you know the little nuances that your class does to actually survive in a certain boss, or even knowing how to burst and buff and attack the boss, because getting the timing down of your bursts and attacks are also crucial when it comes to bossing. Now obviously it might not always be possible to find solos, especially if the boss is rather new. So let's say maybe for Black Mage, it's very hard to find Black Mage solos right now if you play a class that nobody plays. So for example, Beast Tamer, nobody really plays that class, but if you can find somebody doing Beast Tamer solo, then be my guest. But for the most part, nobody really plays that class. So what you want to do is look at possibly if any players have went as a Beast Tamer to Black Mage in a party setting, and you can try and mimic what they do and see how they survive in Black Mage and whatever other boss. Now, if you play a class that has no videos from anybody, then you should probably just job switch. If there's nobody making videos about your class, you might just have to find other classes that are similar. For example, mage classes will probably go towards the mage branch, and you just have to view what they do and experiment to see what works best for you. There pretty much should be a video from many sources where you actually have people doing the boss. And obviously don't just watch one video and call it a day, because each person do things differently and each person might not do certain things correctly or as efficiently as maybe somebody else. Back then, I really didn't know how to play my class to a certain extent, and so I had to watch some videos and see what certain Kaisers do, and boy, some Kaisers really do not know how to play their class, even worse than me. And that's coming from somebody who isn't, I wouldn't say 100% proficient, but I've gotten decently good at playing Kaiser. But there are people who are a lot worse than me, so just be mindful of that there are the people that are on the good spectrum, a good side of the spectrum, but there are also people that are way worse. Number 3, and this is obvious: practice, practice, and practice. I sound like Allen Iverson right now, but those of you who play basketball, you guys get my reference. But you have to practice and just go into the boss. Right now with MapleStory making practice mode for every boss except for Black Mage, you have 20 attempts to enter on any given day to practice. And if you practice for, let's just say 10 minutes and you die out, that's still 200 minutes. So you have unlimited attempts basically, unless you just have nothing else better to do in your life but play MapleStory. But other than that, you pretty much should not be running out of practice attempts. So you want to practice, and what you want to do when you're practicing, if you have a software to record, I recommend either GeForce Experience or OBS, which is called Open Broadcast Software, and record your practice sessions as you are doing them. Now you must say, well, why do I need to record if I can just practice? Isn't doing better than watching myself? Well, yes and no, because when it comes to practicing, when you're actually in the moment, it's a lot harder to break down every little minute detail or every little aspect of the boss and what you can do to survive X, Y, and Z. It's much easier for you to rewatch what you did and then say, oh, I can correct this by doing X, Y, and Z, as opposed to saying, oh, shoot, how did I die? How did this happen? Because there are moments, even for me, when in Black Mage or whatever, when I just don't know what the hell is happening, and then I randomly get smacked in the face and die, and I don't know how I died. So it's important for you to record and rewatch what you do, because if you don't watch what you do, there are certain minute details that you might miss in the actual run. And if you play that back, you'll be able to review it and gain the experience way easier and fix your mistake way easier. Step number 4 is review and think about how you can fix certain things. So this obviously kind of correlates with step number 3. It's a lot easier when you have recordings of your boss runs that you can share with other people that you know that also play this class, maybe better than you, maybe worse than you, but hopefully better than you in your guild, alliance, buddy list, whatever. You can even ask people on YouTube if they actually are someone active on YouTube. They probably will reply to your comments or just ignore all of them. But either way, it's worth a shot. But you want people to provide input, and obviously don't be a pest about it, but you want people to provide input on what you did and what you can do to improve. Certain people might not be willing to help, but I find that if you're generally nice to people and you're considerate of other people's time, they will be willing to help you. But if you're asking too many questions that can probably be easily found on Google or YouTube, do your homework. Step number 5, practice, practice, practice again. There is no substitute for practicing. You need to practice. Certain things take more tries than others, and if you're new at this, it's going to take you longer time to get down as to somebody who is more experienced. So let's say if you're trying for Black Mage for the first time and you've just recently gotten to this game a month ago because you're super well, you can go Black Mage. It's going to take you a lot longer of a time to get the mechanics down unless you got super hand-eye coordination and is an absolutely crazy Einstein level learner. It's gonna take time for you to get things down. Let me give you an example. For me, when I first started doing Black Mage, it took around 24 tries for people to not DC and die out. But after that, we all did first attempt clears for the remaining 7 months. And this is not to flex, but totally to flex at the same time. But you know, it takes time to get things down. And for people who were doing Black Mage the first time when they had no guides and they were going in just blindfolded essentially, it took them a lot more attempts. Does that mean they were bad? No, absolutely not. It's just that they went in with less information than what we have now and what we should be grateful for. Anyways, that's it for this video. Hope you guys found it helpful. If you did, like the video and subscribe to the channel. As always, I will see you guys in the next video.